The council chamber smelled of iron and smoke. I sat at the edge of the long wooden table, my back ramrod straight, even though my hands trembled beneath the surface. The midnight pack's crest hung above me, the silver moon etched deep into the black banner. It should have felt like home, like pride. Instead, tonight it felt like a noose tightening around my throat. They've pushed too far, Beta Rowan growled. His voice was gravel, worn from years of battles. If we allow the Silver Fangs one more raid, we'll be bled dry. They won't stop, my father, Alpha Donovan, snapped. His gray eyes glimmered under the firelight. They want to finish us. They want our land, our wolves, and our legacy. At that, I swallowed hard, forcing myself not to look across the room. Because he was here, their Alpha, Lucian Blackthorn leaned against the far wall as though this were his kingdom already. Tall, broad, with raven black hair falling over one brow, he radiated the kind of power that made the air thin. His eyes wolf gold, and sharp as a blade, met mine once, and I felt my heart stutter before I wrenched my gaze away. He was the reason I had scars on my arm, the reason my pack buried their dead after every raid, the reason I had sworn I'd never been to an alpha like him, and yet, he was the only reason we hadn't already lost everything. The council has voted, Elder Marrow said, voice shaking slightly. The old man's hand trembled as he adjusted his spectacles. The bloodshed must end. The packs must unite. A heavy silence fell. My nails dug into the table. Unite? I knew what that meant. No, I whispered, before the word could be strangled in my throat. Yes, Lucian said at the same time, his voice deep, smooth, cutting through me like steel. He stepped forward, every movement deliberate, predatory. The solution is obvious. A binding marriage between Alpha Donovan's heir and myself. Every breath left my lungs. The chamber spun. My father's eyes darkened with fury, but he said nothing. Silence was as good as consent. You can't be serious, I hissed. You think I would marry you? After everything you've done to my people? Lucian's lips curled into a smirk that wasn't quite humor. You'd rather see them slaughtered, little wolf? My wolf snarled inside me, begging to lunge at him, to rip that smug expression off his face. But my body remained frozen in the chair, because every elder in the room had dropped their gaze in reluctant agreement. Raven, my father's voice was low, warning. You will do what's necessary for your pack. The betrayal stung sharper than claws. My own father was offering me like a lamb to the wolf who had hunted us for years. Lucian moved closer, the firelight gilding his jaw, making his shadow loom long across the stone floor. He stopped just a breath away from me, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off his body. His voice dropped. For me alone, marry me, and I'll spare them. Refuse. His smile widened, dark and merciless. And I'll take your lands and your wolves piece by piece, until nothing remains. My heart hammered so hard I thought he must hear it. Every instinct screamed to say no, to spit in his face, to let him burn with his arrogance. But then I thought of the children in the village, the mothers who cried at every funeral pyre, the thin faces of wolves who hadn't eaten properly in weeks. My pride wasn't worth their lives. I lifted my chin, meeting his golden eyes without flinching. Fine, I said, voice steady despite the chaos inside me. I'll marry you, Lucian Blackthorn. The chamber erupted in murmurs. My father looked away, unable to meet my gaze. Lucian only smirked deeper, as if he'd known I would surrender. All along, he leaned down, his lips brushing dangerously close to my ear. Good girl, he murmured. Before stepping back, I trembled, fury burning through me, but I kept my face blank. I would not give him the satisfaction of seeing me break. If he thought this marriage would tame me, he was wrong, because if I had to become his Luna, then I would make damn sure Lucian Blackthorn regretted ever chaining himself to me. The bells tolled across the valley, their hollow chimes echoing like funeral knells. I stood in the center of the stone courtyard, silver dress clinging to my body like a shroud, my wolf thrashing inside me in protest. Around us, both packs gathered midnight, and Silverfang forced into an easy truce by what was about to happen. Wolves who had ripped each other's throats out mere weeks ago now stood shoulder to shoulder, all for the sake of watching me bind myself to their alpha. To him, Lucian Blackthorn cut a striking figure in black, his coat adorned with silver threads, his presence commanding silence from every soul present. He looked more like a conqueror than a groom, golden eyes gleaming as they locked on me. The corner of his mouth curved, just slightly, and I wondered if anyone else could see the mockery. There. I clenched my fists at my sides. If he thought I'd tremble for him, he was wrong. The elder officiating the ceremony raised his voice. We gather here to unite two packs under the bond of union. Today, Alpha Lucian of the Silver Fangs and Raven of the Midnight Pack will become one, for the sake of peace and survival. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I caught sight of my father, standing tall at the edge, face carved of stone. His gaze slid over me as though I were nothing more than a pawn he'd pushed across a chessboard. A hollow ache pressed into my chest. Step forward, the elder commanded. Lucian moved with deliberate grace, a predator stalking his prey. He stopped before me, towering, shadows from the torches dancing over his sharp jawline. His scent spice and smoke curled into my lungs unwanted. I forced myself not to shiver. Do you, Raven, accept this union for the sake of your pack? The elder asked. I swallowed the lump in my throat. My wolf howled in fury, but my voice came out steady. I do. A cruel smile tugged at Lucian's lips, as if my surrender tasted sweeter than wine. Do you, Alpha Lucian, accept this union for the sake of your pack? His golden eyes never left mine. I do. The elder nodded solemnly. Then, as tradition demands, seal this bond with a kiss, that the spirits may bless your unity. The crowd leaned in. Whispers hushed. My pulse thundered so loud I could barely hear. Lucian took a step closer, invading my space, his hand lifting to cup my jaw. His touch was warm, commanding, his thumb brushing the edge of my cheekbone as though he owned me already. I wanted to bite him. Instead, I forced myself to lift my chin, refusing to flinch. Smile, little wolf, he murmured so low only I could hear. They're all watching. Then his lips crashed against mine. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't tender. It was possession raw, scorching. A performance meant to fool the crowd and remind me who held the leash. Gasps rose around us as I fought the instinct to shove him away. Instead, I gripped his coat hard, digging my nails into him until his smirk faltered against my mouth. If he wanted a performance, then fine, I'd play my role. But I would not play weak. The kiss broke, both of us breathing harder than we should. His eyes gleamed like molten gold, as though he'd enjoyed every second of rattling me. The elder raised his arms. It is done. Two packs are now bound. May the moon bless this union. The crowd erupted into cautious applause. Wolves howled in the distance. Lucian's arms snaked around my waist, pulling me flush against him as he turned us toward the gathered packs. Bow to your Luna, he commanded, voice sharp as steel. The title stung like salt in an open wound. Dozens of heads bowed. My stomach twisted at the sight. My people, kneeling for a man who had once drenched their soil in blood. I leaned closer. To him, my smile a dagger. You'll regret this, I whispered sweetly. His breath tickled my ear, a low chuckle rumbling in his chest. I already don't. The feast that followed was a blur of false laughter, heavy wine, and strained smiles. Wolves from both packs sat side by side, though their eyes remained wary, hands never far from their knives. I sat at the head table beside Lucian, every muscle locked. He played the part perfectly, his arm casually draped along the back of my chair, his gaze softened for the benefit of onlookers. Only I could feel the subtle weight of his power pressing against me, staking silent claim. A silver-fanged she-wolf slinked past, brushing her fingers across Lucian's shoulder in a way that was far from respectful. His former lover, no doubt. My jaw clenched. Lucian caught my expression, his lips curving in amusement. Careful, wife, you'll give yourself away. I stabbed a piece of meat with my fork, forcing a smile for the crowd. Don't flatter yourself. I don't care who warms your bed so long as you stay out of mine. His golden eyes darkened, flickering with something primal. He leaned in close enough that only I could hear. You'll care, little wolf. When I decide you're mine, there won't be room for anyone else. A shiver trailed my spine, equal parts fury and unwanted anticipation. I met his gaze, unflinching. We'll see about that. When the hall finally emptied, we were ushered toward the chambers prepared for us. Wolves bowed as we passed, whispers trailing behind like smoke. The door shut with a heavy thud. Silence fell. Lucian leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes devouring me in the flickering firelight. Well, wife, he drawled, shall we consummate this union, or keep pretending we despise each other? Heat surged to my cheeks, but I refused to give him the satisfaction. I lifted my chin. If you touch me, I'll gut you before dawn. His smirk sharpened, wolf glint blazing in his gaze. Good, I like a challenge. The air between us thickened, heavy with tension. Neither of us dared name And in that moment, as much as I hated him, I knew this marriage was going to be far more dangerous than any war. Morning light spilled across the chamber, gilding the stone walls in pale gold. I sat rigidly in a high-backed chair, my silver wedding dress discarded for simple black leathers. Across from me, Lucian lounged like a king who'd won a war. One boot propped on the edge of the table between us. The table itself was bare save for parchment, quill, and ink. His idea. A contract, he'd said, to make our farce easier. If we're going to play husband and wife, he drawled, twirling the quill between his long fingers, then we should be clear about the rules. I crossed my arms. Rules? As if you've ever followed any. Golden eyes gleamed as his lips curved. Oh, I follow rules. The ones I write. My wolf bristled. Then let me make this very clear, I snapped, leaning forward. This marriage may be for peace, but it is not real. I don't love you. I don't want you, and I will never ever submit to you. His gaze sharpened, heat flickering there, though his smile didn't falter. Good, then we understand each other. He dipped the quill into ink and scratched across the parchment in his bold hand. When he lifted it, he read aloud, Rule 1, no emotions, no falling in love. I barked a humorless laugh. As if that was ever a danger, I plucked the quill from his hand and wrote beneath it in sharp strokes, Rule 2, no touching, not in private, not unless it's for show. Lucian's eyes glittered as he leaned closer, so close I could feel his breath against my cheek. So you'd deny yourself the possibility? I held his gaze without flinching. I'd rather burn. His smirk widened. He reclaimed the quill and wrote, Rule 3, no other men. You are mine in public and in private. My jaw dropped. Absolutely not. He shrugged, casual, infuriating. My pack will watch you. If you so much as smile too warmly at another, they'll see it as betrayal. I won't risk rebellion because you want to play coy. You arrogant. My hand shook as I snatched the quill again. I pressed hard enough that the ink blotted. Rule 4. No controlling my movements. Where I go, who I train with, how I spend my days, that's mine, not yours. Lucian's eyes darkened. His wolf flickered in their golden depths, feral, possessive. You think you can walk through my territory unchecked? You think I'll let you vanish into the night while my enemies circle? I slammed the quill down. I think I'm not your prisoner. The silence that followed crackled like lightning before a storm. Then slowly, he leaned back in his chair, gaze sweeping over me as if he were memorizing every line of my defiance. Very well. Have your freedom, he murmured, voice silk over steel. But if you step into danger, don't expect me to sit idle. Something in his tone sent a shiver down my spine. I grabbed the parchment and scrawled another line before he could see my hesitation. Rule 5. No marking, no bond. Not now, not ever. The air changed. His wolf surged so strongly I felt the power ripple across the room. His smirk vanished, replaced by something far more dangerous. You think you can dictate that? His voice was low, lethal. Yes, I said, forcing steel into my tone. Because I'd rather die than wear your mark. We stared at each other, breath harsh, wolves snarling silently behind our skin. The parchment between us trembled from the weight of our fury. Then, abruptly, Lucian chuckled. The sound was rough, not entirely amused, as if he were restraining the urge to break the table in half. Very well, little wolf. We'll see how long you last. He dragged the quill across the page one last time. Rule 6. If either of us breaks the rules, the other gets to decide the punishment. My stomach flipped. I hated the gleam in his eyes as he slid the parchment toward me, daring me to sign. I took the quill, scrawled my name in sharp strokes, and shoved it back. Fine, but remember, alpha rules are chains, and I intend to see you choke on yours. His golden gaze burned, molten heat licking at my composure. Then he smiled, slow and wicked, as he signed beside my name. Good, he said softly, folding the parchment, because breaking them will be the most fun I've had in years. The words slithered down my spine, a threat and a promise all at once, and as much as I hated him, a small treacherous part of me wondered which one of us would break first. The door to our chambers closed with a heavy thud, locking us in silence. I had expected a cell, cold and bare, but what stretched before me was a room fit for royalty. Furs lined the stone floors, torches burned in silver sconces, and the massive bed dominated the space, draped in black and silver silks. My skin prickled. That bed was not a symbol of comfort, it was a weapon. A reminder. I'll take the bed, Lucian said smoothly, tossing his black coat over the chair as though the room already belonged to him. I crossed my arms. Excuse me? He shot me a look over his shoulder, wolf gold eyes gleaming. You heard me. I moved past him, deliberately brushing his arm with mine as I claimed the other side of the bed. I don't care if you're alpha of half the realm, you don't get to dictate where I sleep. A dark chuckle rumbled in his chest. You think you can fight me for a mattress, little wolf? My wolf snarled at the insult. I lifted my chin. I've fought you for far more than that. Lucian prowled toward me, his movements slow, predatory. He stopped a breath away, close enough that I could feel the heat of him radiating off his body. His gaze swept deliberately over me, my clenched fists, the stubborn tilt of my chin, the way my chest rose and fell to fast. This isn't a fight you can win, he murmured. I didn't flinch. Try me. The air between us crackled, thick, with defiance. He leaned closer, voice low enough to scrape down my spine. Careful. If I push you onto this bed, no one will know whether it was a battle or something else entirely. My breath hitched, but I forced my glare to hold. You won't touch me. Rule 2, remember? That damn smirk curved his lips. Yes, the rules. His hand braced against the bedpost beside my head, caging me without laying a finger on me. But tell me, Raven, what happens when you're the one who breaks them first? Heat flushed through me, sharp and unwanted. I shoved past him, breaking the spell. I'll sleep on the bed. You take the floor. For a moment, silence. Then his wolf growled low, vibrating in the air. Lucian's jaw tightened, but instead of arguing, he yanked a fur off the bed and tossed it to the ground. With deliberate arrogance, he stretched out across the floor, one arm behind his head, golden eyes glinting in the firelight as they tracked me. I climbed into bed, tugging the covers up like armor, my body tense with the awareness of him sprawled just feet away. Comfortable? I asked sweetly. Very, he said, eyes never leaving mine. The view is excellent. Heat burned in my cheeks. I rolled onto my side, facing away from him, determined to ignore the weight of his stare. Minutes stretched into hours. The fire crackled. My wolf paced, restless. Every shift of his body drew my attention, no matter how tightly I squeezed my eyes shut. At some point, exhaustion dragged me into a shallow sleep only to be yanked awake by a sound. A low growl, sharp and guttural. I shot upright, heart pounding. Lucian was on his feet, half shifted, golden eyes glowing in the dark. His claws dug into the wood of the bedpost, his body taut like a bowstring. Lucian? My voice wavered before I could stop it. His head snapped toward me, teeth bared, but he didn't attack. His chest heaved, ragged breaths filling the silence. Slowly, he forced himself back, claws retracting, eyes dimming, a curse hissed between his teeth. Nightmares. The word was ground out, raw and reluctant. I stared at him, torn between fury and something I refused to name. You dream like that often? His gaze flicked to me, unreadable. Enough. He dragged a hand through his hair, then sank back to the floor, turning his back to me as though the conversation was already over. I lay back down, heart still hammering. For the first time, I wondered what kind of demons haunted him when the armor cracked. Sleep claimed me again, fitful and restless. But even as I drifted, I knew one thing for certain. Sharing a roof with Lucian Blackthorn would be a battlefield, and sooner or later, one of us was going to bleed. The great hall glittered with silver banners and chandeliers. Wolves from every corner of the territory filled the space, their eyes sharp with curiosity, suspicion, and thinly veiled hunger. I adjusted the neckline of my borrowed gown, ignoring how suffocating it felt, and straightened my spine. Tonight was our first official appearance as mates. Tonight, every gaze would measure whether the Midnight Pack's alpha female could tame the most feared alpha alive. Lucian's hand brushed mine. I flinched. Smile, he murmured, voice as soft as velvet and twice as dangerous. You look like you're walking into an execution. I am, I whispered back. Yours. His laugh was low, intimate, like he was in on a joke no one else knew. His fingers closed firmly around mine, guiding me forward. The warmth of his skin burned against my palm, but I didn't dare pull away, not when half the hall was watching. Gasps rippled as we entered together. Lucian played his role to perfection. He leaned close, his lips brushing the shell of my ear. As he spoke, sending unwanted shivers racing down my neck. Rule number 3, he reminded me smoothly. In public, we are inseparable. Rule number 4, I shot back through clenched teeth. Don't you dare improvise. Darling, he purred, loud enough for the closest wolves to hear. When have I ever followed rules? Heat flared in my cheeks, not from his words, but from the chorus of sighs that followed us. They believed it, every last one of them. A she-wolf with emerald eyes and a too-tight smile glided toward us. I recognized her instantly. Serafini, Lucian's ex, the one rumored to still pine for him. She dipped her head, but her gaze was locked on Lucian, not me. Alpha, it's been far too long. Lucian's lips curved in that infuriating smirk. Serafini. Her eyes flicked to me then, dismissive, sharp as claws. And this must be your mate. I forced a polite smile. Raven. Her lips twitched, amusement barely hidden. Of course. Before I could bristle, Lucian slid an arm around my waist, tugging me flush against his side. The move was possessive, almost brutal, his fingers pressing into my ribs as though to remind me that this was part of the show. Yes, he said clearly, his golden gaze locked on Serafini. My mate. The words rang with finality. Something flickered in Serafini's eyes, hurt, anger, maybe both, but she masked it quickly. How lovely. With a stiff smile, she excused herself, her retreating figure radiating fury. I turned to Lucian, whispering fiercely under my breath. Was that necessary? His mouth brushed dangerously close to mine, his voice a low growl. Absolutely. We moved through the hall, wolves parting around us like water around a blade. Everywhere we went, his hand never left me, my waist, my lower back, my fingers laced through his. Every touch set my wolf on edge, every stolen glance an unspoken challenge. When the music began, Lucian pulled me onto the dance floor before I could protest. I don't dance, I hissed. Then follow my lead, he said, spinning me into his arms. The crowd watched, murmuring, as he guided me across the floor. His movements were fluid, powerful, and I hated how naturally my body responded, matching his steps without thought. You're good at this, I muttered. His smile was pure sin. You'll find I'm good at many things. I rolled my eyes. But the warmth creeping up my neck betrayed me. The dance ended, and applause rippled through the hall. Lucian bowed slightly, lips brushing the back of my hand before I could yank it away. The audience melted into whispers, admiration, envy, speculation. We'd convinced them. But as soon as the hall turned its attention elsewhere, I ripped my hand free and hissed, if you ever pull something like that again, you'll what? His eyes glowed gold, amusement flickering in their depths. You'll punish me? Careful, Raven. The way you said that almost sounded like an invitation. I glared daggers at him, heart thundering in my chest. This was only the first event, the first test, and already, the line between performance and reality was beginning to blur in dangerous ways, because for one heartbeat, as his fingers lingered against my skin and the crowd vanished from my awareness, I wasn't sure who we were pretending for anymore. The moment the chamber door slammed shut behind us, the act shattered. Lucian loosened his collar, rolling his shoulders as though nothing had happened, as though we hadn't just spent the evening parading our love before half the realm. I, on the other hand, was shaking with fury. You arrogant bastard, I hissed, spinning on him. What the hell was that? He arched a brow, golden eyes glittering with mock innocence. You'll have to be more specific, darling. Do you mean the part where I saved your sorry attempt at diplomacy, or the part where I made the entire hall believe we're wildly in love? You humiliated me, I snapped, dragging me onto the dance floor like a puppet, pawing at me in front of everyone. His lips curved, sharp and cruel. So it wasn't convincing enough for you? I wanted to claw the smirk off his face. You don't get it. I don't want to play your games. If this is supposed to be a partnership, then you don't get to make decisions without me. That wiped the amusement from his expression. His gaze darkened, voice dropping to a dangerous growl. Don't mistake this arrangement for equality, Raven. You may wear my name, but I'm still Alpha. The words hit like a slap. My wolf snarled inside me, hot and furious. Then maybe you should have married a corpse, I spat. Because I'm not going to stand here and let you control me like one of your soldiers. For a moment, silence. His chest rose and fell, muscles taut beneath his shirt. Then, in 2 strides, he was in front of me, towering over me, heat rolling off his body. You think you can fight me? His voice was low, intimate, dangerous. You'd lose. I glared up at him, refusing to back down even as my pulse hammered in my throat. I'd rather lose 100 battles than bow to you once. His hand shot out, fingers curling around my chin, forcing me to meet his eyes. Golden fire burned there, feral and consuming. Careful, he murmured, thumb brushing the corner of my mouth. You're playing with fire. Good, I whispered, defiance trembling in my voice. Maybe it'll burn you too. The air between us thickened, heavy with something neither of us dared name. My breath caught as his gaze dropped to my lips, lingering there for a fraction too long, and then he released me, stepping back as though nothing had happened. Go to bed, Raven, he said coldly. You'll need your strength for what? My voice cracked like a whip, his jaw flexed. Because this was only the first battle. The war has just begun. I stood frozen, fury and something dangerously close to longing tangled inside me. As he turned away and shed his jacket, tossing it carelessly onto a chair, he was already dismissing me, retreating into his own storm. While I burned in mine, I stormed to the bed, ripping off my necklace with shaking hands. My wolf paced restlessly, caught between wanting to claw his eyes out and something else I refused to name. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Every shift of his body on the other side of the room reminded me of his nearness. Every ragged breath of mine reminded me of the fight still unfinished. And when I finally drifted into restless dreams, one truth haunted me. The rules we made weren't going to save us. They were going to break us. The night was still heavy with the aftertaste of our fight when the first haul split the air. I bolted upright, every nerve in my body sparking awake. It wasn't the mournful cry of a wolf in the distance, it was sharper, guttural, threaded. With the promise of blood, Lucian was already moving, dragging on his boots, his eyes glowing gold in the torchlight. What is it? I demanded, shoving back the covers. Raiders. His voice was clipped, a blade in the dark. Silver Fang. Scouts. By the sound of it, my heart lurched. The Silver Fang pack had been circling us for months, hungry for a weakness. That they dare breach these borders tonight meant they smelled blood or opportunity. Lucian didn't even look at me as he reached for his sword. Stay here. I bristled. Not a chance. His head snapped toward me, eyes narrowing. You're not trained for. I was already pulling my daggers from beneath the bed. I've been trained since birth. You think surviving my father's pack didn't require claws? For a heartbeat, we just stared at each other to storms, colliding. Then, with a snarl, he shoved open the doors. Fine, don't slow me down. The night beyond was chaos. Wolves clashed in the courtyard, snarls ripping the air. Sparks of silver flashed in the moonlight as blades met flesh. Lucian shifted mid-stride, his body exploding into sleek black fur, larger than any wolf I'd ever seen. The air crackled with his dominance, sending enemies staggering back. I let my own wolf surge forward, bones breaking, skin tearing, until the world sharpened into scent and sound. Together, we lunged into the fray. I tore into the first raider. That crossed my path, my fangs sinking into his shoulder. Blood filled my mouth, hot and metallic, as he crumpled beneath me. Another lunged, but before his claws could rake my side, Lucian slammed into him, sending the wolf sprawling. For a moment, our eyes met across the battlefield, gold locking with silver. An unspoken thread bound us. We moved as one. I darted left. He struck right, where I faltered. His strength filled the gap. Where his brute force left him open, my speed carved the kill. The enemy didn't stand a chance against the rhythm we fell into, as if we'd fought together all our lives. When the last Silver Fang wolf collapsed, silence rang out, shattered only by the panting breaths of our own pack. Lucian shifted back. First, his chest heaving, sweat glistening across his bare skin. His blade dripped crimson at his side. I followed, skin slick with blood that wasn't mine, hair wild around my face. My daggers trembled in my hands, adrenaline still roaring through my veins. For once, there was no mockery in his gaze, no smirk, only fire. You held your ground, he said quietly, almost reluctantly. I forced my chin high. Of course I did. I'm not here to play the helpless mate you wanted me to be. His mouth twitched, like he was fighting the urge to smile or snarl. Good. His eyes raked over me, lingering too long. Because I don't need a puppet. I need a wolf who can stand at my side. The words hit harder than they should have. My chest tightened, and I hated it. Don't mistake this for affection, I snapped, wiping blood from my cheek. We fought together because we had to, not because we wanted to. Lucian stepped closer, towering over me, his body still thrumming with raw power. His hand lifted, hesitated, and for one wild second, I thought he might touch me. Instead, he reached past me, plucking a silver-tipped arrow from where it had lodged in my hair. He held it up between us, the faintest smirk curving his lips. Careless, he murmured. 1 inch closer and you'd be dead. I snatched the arrow from his hand, glaring. Or maybe I'd have dodged it. You underestimate me. His gaze burned hotter, his voice dropping low. No, Raven. If anything, I think I've been underestimating how dangerous you really are. The tension between us crackled, sharper than any blade. For one dizzying heartbeat, the battlefield, the blood, the pack, all of it vanished, leaving only the fire we'd lit in each other. And then a horn sounded in the distance, breaking the spell. Lucian turned, his expression shuddered once more. This isn't over. They'll be back. I gripped the arrow tighter, forcing my breath steady. Good, let them come. Because for the first time, I knew something with bone-deep certainty. Alone, we were enemies. Together, we were unstoppable. Dawn bled pale gold across the valley. As our packs gathered in the courtyard, the previous night's battle left bloodstains on stone and whispers in every shadow. I stood beside Lucian, boots digging into the dirt, muscles tense. The survivors of our ambush were scattered around, their gazes a mix of awe and fear. A quiet murmur traveled through the crowd, talk of how their Alpha and Luna fought side by side like a single storm. And of course, where power rises, envy festers. From the edge of the courtyard, Serafini emerged again, her emerald eyes gleaming. She lingered on Lucian, a predator cloaked in silk. I hear your mate is quite spirited, she said, voice dripping with honeyed poison. Lucian's arm slid around my waist automatically, a public show of possession, fingers pressing just enough to make a statement. His golden eyes didn't meet hers. Instead, they flicked to mine, warning and dangerous. I am spirited, I said sweetly, letting my voice carry to every wolf nearby. And I'm also loyal to the Silverfangs who respect me, and to the Alpha I married for peace. Serafini's lips twitched in irritation. How noble. She swept past us, and I caught the faintest flicker of envy in her posture. Before I could breathe a sigh of relief, another figure stepped forward. Darius, a rival Alpha from a neighboring territory, teeth bared in a mocking grin. So this is the infamous Luna, he said. I've heard a lot about you. Impressive. For a pawn. I bristled. Pawn? Lucian's hand tightened on my waist. She's anything but, he said, voice low but carrying. And you would do well to remember it. Darius's smirk faltered slightly, though the tension in his stance didn't. We'll see, he said before retreating, leaving a trail of whispers behind. Lucian's jaw flexed, and he leaned closer to me, lips brushing my ear. See? Already testing you. Already testing us. I swallowed, feeling the familiar heat of irritation and something more dangerous curl through me. We'll handle it, I said, voice tight. His lips twitched in a near smile. Good. Together. Even as he spoke the words, his arm around my waist became a tether, a reminder that the public I was watching every move. The kiss on my temple he pressed, soft yet deliberate, sent a shiver down my spine. I forced my lips into a polite smile. Our packs murmured in approval, but I could feel the subtle tension ripple outward. Jealous exes and rival alphas weren't the only threats. Envy could be just as lethal, and I knew some wolves would stop at nothing to destabilize our fragile alliance. The rest of the day passed under this careful scrutiny. Lucian and I moved together, side by side, exchanging smiles and whispered conversations for show. Behind our eyes, sparks flew: resentment, rivalry, the thrill of the unspoken challenge. Later, in the privacy of the chamber, the tension between us boiled over. Lucian's smirk returned, predatory and wicked. You like showing them who owns you, he murmured, voice husky, eyes burning gold. I glared, but couldn't deny the thrill. I like showing you I won't be owned. His laugh was low, dangerous, curling around my spine like fire. Good, he said, because the real game is just beginning. And believe me, little wolf, I play to win. I hated him. I hated that he made my pulse quicken, that my wolf stirred whenever he moved close, that every glance felt like a challenge I didn't know if I could resist. And yet, somewhere deep down, I knew we were more powerful together, more unstoppable, more dangerous. The battle outside had only been the beginning. The war within and between us was just starting. The moon hung low over the courtyard, casting silver light on the pack gathered for a feast. Tonight was a celebration of victory, but the air buzzed with whispers. Every eye followed us, measuring, judging. Lucian's hand slid to my lower back as we stepped into the center of the gathering. I stiffened. Not so close, I hissed, tugging slightly at his sleeve. His golden gaze met mine, sharp, teasing. Rule 2, little wolf, he murmured. Public only. But perhaps, rules are meant to be flexible. I narrowed my eyes. Flexible for you, maybe, he smirked, weaving me into a circle with him, arm possessive around my waist as if staking claim. The pack watched, some in awe, some in envy. See, he murmured, brushing a strand of hair from my face in a calculated display. You look perfect like this. And don't deny it, you enjoy the attention. I flinched, but my heart betrayed me with a quick, unwanted thrum. I don't, and you know it. Of course I do, he whispered, leaning close enough that I could feel the heat of his breath. That's what makes it fun. The music began, a slow rhythm for the ceremonial dance. Lucian spun me expertly into his arms, closer than protocol allowed. My jaw clenched as whispers rippled through the pack. You're pushing the rules, I whispered sharply. He grinned, golden eyes gleaming. I know, and you're loving it. I bit back the retort, forcing a polite smile. The truth was dangerous. My pulse surged, my wolf stirred at the nearness, and the line between show and reality blurred with every calculated movement. The dance ended, and he pressed me into the shadow of the hall. Rule 4, I said, voice trembling with frustration. You can't. He silenced me with a finger to my lips, soft but firm. The pack sees us as one now. And little wolf, appearances are everything. You're cruel, I snapped. And possessive. His lips twitched. You've noticed? The tension broke when Serafini reappeared, gliding closer under the guise of celebration. She whispered something to a pack member, her eyes on us, her jealousy a palpable weapon. Lucian's jaw flexed. Enough. Without warning, he pulled me flush against his chest, arm tight around my waist, marking territory subtly but undeniably. Heat coursed through me, shock and fury tangling with something far too dangerous. Lucian, I hissed, pushing against him with every ounce of strength my wolf could muster. Relax, he murmured, voice low, dangerous, a growl in the cadence. This is just control, nothing more. I hated him. I hated how my body reacted anyway, how my wolf whimpered beneath the human restraint, how my breath caught at his nearness. He let me go, just barely, and stepped back with a predatory smile. Remember, little wolf, rules were made to test us, and you are very good at breaking them without realizing it. I stumbled away, gripping the hem of my dress, furious and breathless. My wolf snarled internally, but even she knew the undeniable truth. Our fight was no longer about domination, it was a slow burn, a dance neither of us could resist. And somewhere in the shadows, Serafini watched, envy and rage coiling tight. In her chest, Lucian leaned against a pillar, arms crossed, eyes never leaving me. Tomorrow, he murmured softly, almost a promise. We'll see who truly breaks first. I glared back, chest heaving, wolf thrumming dangerously. Not me. But even as the words left my lips, part of me, the reckless, unwilling part, wondered if he was right, because with every step, every touch, every glance, the rules were bending, and I could feel them snapping. The chamber was silent, heavy with the scent of fire and iron from last night's celebration. I paced, boots scraping, against the cold stone, hands curled into fists. Lucian leaned against the far wall, golden eyes gleaming, arms crossed. He looked calm, almost smug. You think that was clever? I demanded, stopping in front of him, dragging me into the dance, showing everyone we're a perfect couple. He tilted his head, expression lazy but eyes sharp as knives. Clever? No. Necessary? Absolutely. You saw the looks on their faces. They're not idiots. I snapped, voice rising. They can see the act. I don't know why you enjoy teasing me like I'm some toy to flaunt. His smirk darkened, sharp as a blade. He stepped closer, and the air between us thickened, heavy with heat and unspoken challenge. Toy? No, little wolf. You're far more dangerous than that. I stiffened. Dangerous? You mean I react? I feel you're testing me. I won't. He cut me off by closing the distance in a single step. His hand brushed my jaw, soft, almost tender, yet firm enough to claim dominance. My wolf growled beneath my skin, instinct flaring, warning me. You won't what? He asked, voice low, husky. Resist? Fight me? Admit that you like the attention? I ripped my gaze from his cheeks flaming. I do not. You're impossible. Lucian chuckled, a slow, dangerous sound that curled around my spine. Impossible? Maybe. Or maybe. I just know how to find your weak spots. my breath caught. The heat of his hand, the fire in his eyes, it was maddening, infuriating, and terrifyingly intimate. I shoved him away. Stay away from me. Don't touch me. Not now, not ever. His hand lingered in the air a moment longer, as if tasting the space where I had been. Then he let it drop, but the intensity in his eyes didn't fade. You're hiding it, he said softly. Your wolf wants this as much as I do. I spun, fists clenched. Don't you dare! Before I could finish, he grabbed me by the shoulders, forcing me to face him. His face was dangerously close, and my wolf ached with the tension of his nearness. You're lying to yourself, he whispered. You want to fight me, yes. You want to defy me, absolutely. But every glance, every heartbeat, every growl you've tried to deny, it's for me. And deep down, you know it. I swallowed hard, words catching in my throat. You're insane. He smiled, low and wicked, brushing a strand of hair from my face again. No, I'm observant, careful, patient, until you can't resist anymore. The fire in me rage, defiance, something dangerously close to desire burned hotter. I shoved at him one last time. You're testing the limits of this contract. And you, he countered, voice a growl, are testing mine. The silence that followed was electric. Wolves snarled internally, instincts tangled with human hearts. My breath came fast, heart hammering. Lucian leaned back slightly, just enough to give me space, but the tension didn't break. Rule 6, he reminded softly, is already in effect. If either of us breaks them, there's no going back. I swallowed, trembling, knowing full well what he meant. And if I break them first? His smirk was sharp, golden eyes burning. Then I decide your punishment. And trust me, little wolf, I've thought about it for a very long time. I felt my pulse spike, body tense, wolf snarling, human heart betraying me in ways I refused to acknowledge. I turned away, pressing my back to the stone wall, trying to steady my racing thoughts. I hate you, I whispered, though even I knew it wasn't entirely true. Good, he murmured, voice low and lethal. Because I'm far from done with you. The tension hung thick between us as he strode past me, leaving the scent of him lingering in the air, golden, sharp, intoxicating. I gritted my teeth, fists still clenched, and as I sank to the floor, wolf snarling softly in my chest, I realized one undeniable truth. The rules weren't going to save me, and I was dangerously, terrifyingly aware that I didn't want them to. The night air was thick with tension as a courier burst into our chambers, panting and pale. Alpha, Luna, the eastern border raiders are attacking. They've taken the outpost. It's urgent. Lucian's jaw tightened. Without a word, he grabbed his coat and motioned for me to follow. I started. Rule 7, he interrupted sharply. No hesitation. If we wait, we lose lives. I swallowed, wolf snarling beneath my skin, but followed. His dominance wasn't optional. It was survival. We arrived to chaos. Flames licked the night sky, and wolves clashed in raw, brutal combat. The eastern outpost had been overrun, and the raiders were ruthless. Lucian shifted mid-step, sleek black, fur rippling as he doubled in size. I tensed, letting my own wolf rise within me. We moved together, he growled, sweeping his gaze over me. No mistakes, no mistakes, I echoed, feeling the familiar thrill of his possessiveness. The pack's survival depended on us. We fought as one, claws, fangs, and strength sinking in a deadly rhythm. Every movement Lucian made anticipated mine, and mine complemented his. Together, we were a storm. But then a raider lunged from the shadows, dagger aimed at my side. Reflexively, I shifted too late, and the blade grazed my ribs. Pain flared, sharp and hot. Raven, Lucian roared, leaping into her path, knocking the raider aside with brutal force. His hands, human again, gripped my shoulders, holding me close in the chaos, gold eyes flashing with possessive fury. You're reckless, he snarled. Do not push me like that. I can handle it. I snapped, though my body trembled. From the pain and adrenaline, his fingers pressed into my arms, firm and inescapable. No, not tonight. Not when I'm responsible for you. The words weren't a command, they were a warning. Desire and fury churned between us, but there was no time to explore it. More raiders advanced, and we were forced to fight side by side, breaking the Rule 2 and 4 protocols we had painstakingly maintained. Our bodies collided, close, heat burning, wolf instincts screaming. But every glance and brush of skin was functional, necessary for survival, not pleasure. Yet it set sparks in our veins we could not ignore. When the last raider fell, the outpost eerily silent except for the fire and our ragged breathing, Lucian pulled me behind a stone wall, pressing me flush against it. Rule 6, he whispered, voice low, dangerous, broken, but necessary. I glared, chest heaving. Necessary? You enjoy this too much. His smirk was predatory. I enjoy controlling the chaos. And you? Well, I enjoy seeing you fight like the wolf you are. The wolf inside me snarled, but the human part of me felt it too, the heat, the tension, the magnetic pull of him that I couldn't resist. Next time, I said, forcing my voice steady, don't get in my way. He leaned closer, gold eyes, dark, voice low. Next time, little wolf, I won't be in your way. I'll be your storm. The words sent a shiver down my spine. I pushed him, finally breaking the tension before it consumed us entirely. We didn't speak as we made our way back to the main hall. The pack's eyes followed us, whispers trailing our every step. They had seen more than anyone should ever see of us fighting together, bodies nearly touching, hearts racing, and yet they saw only leadership, not desire. Once the doors closed behind us, I sank against the wall, chest still heaving. My wolf growled, still on edge, still buzzing with the energy between us. Lucian watched me silently for a long moment before finally speaking. This changes things. I knew he wasn't talking about the battle. No, I murmured, voice rough. It doesn't. It just proves we're effective together. Effective, he repeated softly, but the edge in his tone told me he knew it was more. And dangerous. I looked away, cheeks flushed. Don't read too much into it. Too late, he said, stepping closer again. The line between rule and desire is already blurred, little wolf, and I intend to see how far it can go. My wolf whimpered softly at his words, my body betraying me even as my mind screamed defiance. The rules had broken, and neither of us would survive intact after this. The courtyard was buzzing when we returned, whispers weaving like poison through the gathered wolves. The news of our triumph had spread fast, but so had rumors of how closely we had fought, our bodies nearly touching, our breaths mingling. Lucian's arm slid around my waist as we entered. Automatically, instinctively, I stiffened, but the wolves were watching, and appearances mattered. Serafini's emerald eyes flared, a flicker of envy she couldn't hide. Quite the performance, she purred, voice sweet but sharp. Didn't expect the Luna to get so involved. I forced a polite smile. We do what is necessary for the pack. Her gaze lingered on Lucian, a subtle challenge in her stance. He noticed, and without missing a beat, drew me closer. Exactly, he said, lips brushing my temple in a calculated, possessive display. Together, whispers rose, some in awe, some in envy. Darius, the rival alpha from the north, leaned on a pillar, smirk fixed, observing our every movement. Interesting, he murmured to a pack member. The Luna finally earns her place. At his side, I ignored him, focusing on the sensation of Lucian's arm across my waist. The heat was maddening, but I refused to let him see the stirrings inside me. Rule 3, I hissed under my breath. In public, we act inseparable. Fine, but I won't let him. Shh. Lucian whispered in my ear, teeth grazing my earlobe. I know. That's why it's so much fun. The pack's attention was divided between admiration and gossip, and I felt my cheeks burn. The line between public act and private tension blurred with every calculated touch. Serafini approached again, this time pretending casual conversation. I trust you've both healed from last night's excitement, she said, voice dripping with sarcasm. Lucian didn't hesitate. He pressed a hand firmly to my lower back, pulling me flush against him. Completely, he said smoothly, golden eyes flashing. Our wolf spirits are stronger than ever. I felt my stomach twist. This was for show. Every touch, every word carefully measured for the crowd. But the wolf inside me growled, wild and untamed, for reasons I couldn't admit even to myself. Darius stepped forward, pretending to adjust his cloak. A strong duo, he said, voice smooth. But don't let power blind you. Even alliances like yours can falter. Lucian's grip on me tightened just enough for the threat to feel personal. We won't falter, he said, voice low, almost a growl. And anyone who tries to test us will regret it. Whispers surged again, but the tension between us had shifted. Not a word of real affection had been exchanged, yet every wolf in the courtyard could sense the fire simmering beneath the surface. When the crowd finally dispersed, I pulled back, glaring. That was exhausting. Lucian tilted his head, smirk curling over golden eyes. Was it? I thought you looked magnificent. I groaned, shoving him lightly. You're impossible. And you, he countered, leaning closer, are irresistible. Even when you pretend otherwise. I flushed, refusing to meet his eyes. Keep the comments to yourself. Not a chance, he murmured, voice low, dangerous. The pack sees us, yes, but I see you, and that's far more entertaining. I wanted to shove him again, but the wolf inside me thrummed at the proximity, the possessive heat, the dangerous teasing. I couldn't deny the pull, the attraction simmering. Under layers of hate, pride, and stubbornness, he brushed past me toward the inner chambers, leaving me trailing behind. My pulse raced, heart thundering, not from the battle, not from the politics, but from the slow, inevitable storm building between us. The pack might see us as inseparable. The enemies around us might whisper their schemes. But in the quiet moments, when the rules were tested and broken, we both knew the fire between us was unstoppable, and no amount of whispers, envy, or rules could contain it. The moon had vanished behind thick clouds, leaving the estate in near darkness. A warning bell tolled through the night. Scouts reported a rogue faction approaching, intent on targeting the Luna. Lucian's jaw tightened, and without a word, he grabbed my wrist. Come, now. No, I protested, but he tugged firmly, his strength leaving no room for argument. We moved together. I felt my wolf stir, instincts flaring. We can handle this apart. His golden gaze burned into mine. Not tonight. Trust me, little wolf, or we both die. The corridors narrowed as we approached the servants' passage, a secret path to the stables. Shadows danced along the walls, and my pulse quickened. Every brush of his arm against mine sent a shiver through me I refused to acknowledge. You're reckless, I muttered under my breath. And you, he replied softly, voice low, are irresistible when you try to fight me. I stumbled slightly, and instinctively, he caught me, pressing me against the wall. Heat radiated from his body, wolf energy crackling between us. I wanted to shove him away, yet the proximity was intoxicating. Lucian, I hissed, trying to regain control. His hand lingered on my waist, golden eyes softening slightly even, as his wolf rumbled beneath his human restraint. We can't afford distractions, little wolf, he murmured, but some things are unavoidable. I swallowed hard, chest tight. This isn't a distraction, it's survival, is it? He countered, leaning closer, voice a dangerous whisper. Because it feels like more than that. Every rule we set, every limit, it's breaking tonight. I pressed back against the wall, forcing distance. My wolf growled, warning me, yet my heart betrayed me with rapid beats. Then keep your distance, I snapped. He smirked, pressing closer just enough to make the air sizzle between us. Rules are meaningless when your wolf decides otherwise. A distant shout tore us from our standoff. Raiders had breached the courtyard near the stables. Lucian's expression hardened, and the fire of dominance returned. Enough games, he said, sweeping me into a protective stance. Time to fight. We moved together seamlessly. Every step, every strike, every growl synced with a rhythm only we could hear. His hands gripped my shoulders, steadying me, his body shielding mine from the first attack. The wolf inside me raged with excitement and fear, every nerve alert, but the human part of me could not ignore the surge of possessive heat radiating from him. He was mine in more ways than the contract allowed, and I felt it, aching and thrilling. When the last raider fell, silence descended, broken only by our ragged breathing. Lucian pressed me back against the wall again, this time without restraint. Rule 6, he growled, voice husky, broken, and necessary. I blinked, chest heaving, wolf snarling at the audacity of it. You're insane. And you, he whispered, lips brushing my ear, are impossibly stubborn. But I like it. I could barely breathe, heat and fury and desire tangling in ways I didn't dare name. Stay away, I breathed, voice shaky. I can't, he admitted softly, the feral edge in his gaze melting into something almost intimate. Not when the world is trying to take you from me. My pulse quickened, wolf whining beneath my skin. His words, his nearness, the power he radiated it, was maddening, intoxicating, impossible. I stammered, words failing, heart pounding in defiance and desire. He silenced me with a finger to my lips, then a soft brush of his forehead against mine. Shh, he murmured. For now, survive. Later, little wolf, later, we deal with the rest. And in the shadowed corridor, pressed close, wolf and human, we both knew the truth. The rules were already broken, and neither of us wanted them back. The sun was high, burning over the courtyard as the gathering began. Wolves from neighboring territories had come, curious about the alliance between the Luna and Alpha, eager to measure the strength and weakness of the pair. I stiffened beside Lucian as Serafini approached, her heels clicking against stone. "Quite the loyal mate," she said sweetly, venom beneath the words. "It's impressive how you follow him everywhere." Lucian didn't blink. Instead, he draped an arm around my waist, pulling me close, tilting my chin with his fingers. "She doesn't follow," he said smoothly, golden eyes blazing. "She chooses where to be next to me." The crowd murmured, eyes darting between us, whispers slicing through the tense air. Serafini's smile faltered slightly, replaced by thinly veiled irritation. I forced a polite nod, jaw tight. "Yes," I said, voice steady. "I choose to stand beside my mate." Lucian's smirk was sharp. "Louder," he murmured, pressing. Just enough to make the heat rise in me without anyone else noticing. I raised my voice slightly, forcing strength into the words. Beside him, a few nearby wolves murmured approval, and I felt a surge of satisfaction until Darius, the rival, Alpha, stepped forward. "Interesting display," he said smoothly. "But appearances aren't always truth, are they?" Lucian's fingers tightened subtly on my waist, a private warning. "Appearances are all some care about," he said, voice low, dripping with menace. "But truth is mine to claim." Darius's smirk faltered, eyes narrowing. The challenge was clear, and the power in Lucian's tone radiated possession I could feel through every nerve. Serafini's gaze darted to mine, jealousy and fury mingling in her emerald eyes. I wanted to glare back, but Lucian shifted, pressing me just slightly against him, and I realized the truth. Every glance, every touch, every word was controlled, deliberate public proof of possession. "Enough," Lucian said, voice firm, eyes scanning the gathering. "We've shown loyalty and strength. Anyone attempting to undermine it will regret it." I swallowed, wolf thrumming beneath my skin, aware of the intensity emanating from him. His possessive energy wrapped around me like armor, and for once, I didn't want to resist. Later, in private, I leaned against a wall, chest heaving, wolf restless. This act," I murmured. "It's exhausting." Lucian stepped close, fingers brushing my arm, heat igniting at the touch. "Exhausting," he repeated, voice low and dangerous. "Or thrilling." "I hate you," I whispered, though my pulse betrayed me. "Good," he murmured, lips close to my ear. "Because I'm far from done. Not in public, not in private. You're mine in every way that matters." I shivered unwillingly as his words sank in. The rules, the contract they were bending, fraying, snapping under the tension of desire and necessity. And despite the pretense for the pack, the politics, and the jealous eyes watching, one truth remained. When danger or desire flared, we were unstoppable together, even if it killed us. The alarm sounded before dawn, a shrill cry cutting through the silence of the pack's territory. Raiders had breached the western gates, their intent clear: destroy, plunder, and test the Luna's protection. Lucian's jaw tightened. "Stay close," he ordered, voice low and commanding. "We fight as one." I swallowed, wolf rising inside me, tension twisting every nerve. "We can handle this," I said, though every instinct screamed caution. He grabbed my wrist, firm but not harsh. "No mistakes. Trust me." The courtyard erupted into chaos. Claws met steel, fangs gleamed under the moonlight, and screams echoed off stone walls. Every step, every strike, every motion required precision. And Lucian's hand on my waist was constant, possessive, grounding, his wolf energy radiating through me, a tether between survival and desire. A raider lunged at me from the shadows. Reflexively, Lucian blocked the attack, pressing me flush against his chest. My heart thundered not just from fear, but from proximity, the heat of his body, the surge of power and dominance I could not ignore. "Lucian," I gasped, struggling to push away. "Shh," he growled, voice low, almost a purr. "I've got you." The wolf inside me snarled, but the human part betrayed me with trembling breath and a pulse that raced at his nearness. Every movement, every touch, blurred the line between survival and something far more dangerous. When the last raider fell, the courtyard was eerily silent, broken only by ragged breathing and the distant moan of wind through broken gates. Lucian pressed me against a wall, body shielding mine, gold eyes blazing with possessive fury. Rule 6. Broken again, he murmured, voice low, husky. Necessary. I swallowed hard, heart still pounding. You're impossible. And you? He countered softly, lips brushing my temple. Are irresistible when you fight like the wolf you are. The wolf in me growled, conflicted, wild. My human self trembled, mind spinning with defiance and desire. You should rest, he said, finally releasing me, though his hand lingered just enough to make my pulse spike. I can't, I whispered, chest heaving. Not yet, he smirked, predatory, golden eyes flicking to the ruined gates. No, not until we're sure they won't rise again. And perhaps, not until I've made my point. What point? I demanded, heart hammering. You're mine, he said simply. Rules? Contract? Or not? No one wolf or human touches you without my permission. I froze, wolf whining. Beneath my skin, human mind screaming in defiance and fear. The possessiveness, the intensity, the slow burning heat between us, it was overwhelming. Lucian, I began, voice tight. I know, he interrupted, voice low, gold eyes piercing. You hate me, and maybe you love the hate, because it's fire, and fire burns. Little wolf, always? I could only shiver, wolf and human tangled, trembling under the weight of his dominance, the danger we had faced, and the undeniable pull of what we were becoming. The gates had been defended, the threat repelled, but as I stared at him, body still pressed close, breath mingling, golden eyes unreadable, I realized the real danger, the fire between us, was only beginning. The morning after the attack, the courtyard was filled with whispers. Wolves moved in clusters, eyes darting to me and Lucian. Rumors traveled faster than the wind, how we had fought together, how our bodies had moved in perfect unison, and how Lucian had held me close, shielding me. Serafini glided toward us, her green eyes sharp as daggers. Quite the performance last night, she said sweetly, venom in her tone. I trust the Luna's wounds weren't too severe? Lucian's arm immediately found my waist, drawing me close in a subtle display of possession. She's fine, he said, golden eyes flicking to Serafini with a warning she could feel through every nerve. And she's stronger than you think. Her lips pressed into a tight line. Of course, but appearances are everything, aren't they? I gritted my teeth, unwillingly flushed by the possessive heat radiating from him. Yes, I said, forcing calm, but strength isn't always seen in public. Sometimes it's quiet and seen. Lucian leaned in, voice low in my ear. Rule 2, little wolf, remember it, public only. I remember, I muttered, though I felt my pulse spike from his proximity. Darius, the rival alpha, emerged from the shadows, smirk playing across his face. A strong duo indeed, he said smoothly. But alliances like this, how long? Before cracks appear? Lucian's jaw tightened. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, his hand tightened on my waist, possessive, protective, a clear signal to Darius. She is mine, long enough for the pack to see, Lucian finally said, voice low and dangerous. And long enough for anyone who dares to test us to regret it. Serafini's glare sharpened, and I felt a mix of fear and excitement. Every ounce of possessive dominance, every controlled touch, was carefully calculated. And yet, it ignited something in me, something I couldn't fully resist. Later, in the private chambers, Lucian paced, tension radiating from him. They're testing us, he muttered. Every whisper, every glance, they want to see a crack, then give them none, I said, trying to steady my racing heart. We survived last night. We're fine. He stopped pacing and turned, gold eyes blazing. We survived, yes, but survival isn't enough. They need to know you're mine. Understand? Yes, I whispered, both proud and flustered. He crossed the room, fingers brushing my jaw, thumb tracing lightly along my cheek. Good, he murmured, because next time, I won't hold back. Neither will you, and neither will anyone else. I shivered, the wolf inside me snarling softly, human heart betraying me with its rapid beats. Lucian, I know, he said softly, lips brushing my temple. Rules? Contract? They're fragile things, but we'll survive them, together. And in that moment, I realized, public displays, jealousy, exes, rival threats, none of it mattered. What mattered was the slow burning fire between us, dangerous, possessive, and utterly consuming, even under the scrutiny of hundreds of wolves, even with enemies circling. I felt it clearly. I was his, and he was mine. The moonlight filtered through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the private chambers. I stood by the desk, hands gripping the edge, trying to steady my racing pulse. Every instinct screamed at me. My wolf growled, my heart pounded, and every nerve ached with the tension between us. Lucian leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, golden eyes unreadable. "You've been avoiding me all day," he said, voice low, controlled, but there was fire beneath it. "I haven't," I muttered, though my voice shook. "I've been busy, he repeated, stepping closer, each stride deliberate. "Predatory or scared?" I swallowed hard, wolf snarling inside me. "Neither." His gaze softened just slightly, but only enough to unsettle me further. "You're lying." "I'm not," I snapped, trying to force conviction. Yet the heat in his eyes and the closeness of his body made my defenses crumble. He closed the distance, fingers brushing a strand of hair from my face. "Little wolf," he murmured, voice low, dangerous. "Every time you lie to yourself, every time you deny what's between us, it only makes the fire stronger." I stepped back instinctively, but his hand caught my wrist. Not harshly, but possessively. "You don't get to walk away from this," he said. "Not now, not ever." My chest heaved, wolf and human caught in the tension of him, of us. I tried, words failing me. He tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his gaze. "Look at me," he commanded softly. "I'm not asking, I'm telling you. You belong to me, in ways the contract can't contain. And your wolf, she knows it too." I blinked, cheeks flaming. "Lucian, this is insane." "Maybe," he admitted, gold eyes glittering, "but so is this fire between us. And I've spent too long pretending it doesn't exist." I wanted to resist, to push him away, but every fiber of me, human and wolf, pulled toward him. "What are we doing?" I whispered, trembling. "Surviving," he murmured, pressing close, breath warm against my ear. "Rule or no rule, we survive together. And maybe," he paused, voice dropping, "maybe we stop pretending we're not already. More than enemies, more than contract, more than safe." I swallowed, heart racing uncontrollably. "Lucian," his hands moved to my waist, firm, possessive. "Shh," he murmured, "not yet. Just feel this, feel me, your wolf, your heart, mine, and accept it." The wolf inside me rumbled, wild and untamed. Human heart betrayed me with every thundering beat. I could deny, resist, fight, but the fire between us was undeniable. He brushed a thumb over my cheek, soft, deliberate. And I shivered. "You can fight it," he whispered, "but you'll lose, every time." I exhaled shakily, the walls between us crumbling. "Lucian, not now," he said, voice low, controlled, yet full of fire. "Later, when we can explore what's already there." My pulse raced, wolf whimpering softly beneath my skin. The rules were fraying, the tension, desire, and possessiveness were undeniable, and in the quiet chamber, gold eyes locking with my own, one truth became painfully clear. We were already lost to each other. The sun had barely risen when the warning came. A messenger, breathless and panicked, stumbled into the main hall. "Alpha, Luna, Serafini. She's gathered supporters from the neighboring pack. They're challenging your claim." Lucian's jaw tightened, golden eyes blazing. "Show me." I followed silently, wolf humming beneath my skin, nerves taut. The tension in the air was palpable. Rival wolves from other territories had gathered, whispering, eyes fixed on us. Serafini, radiant in her fury, stepped forward, green eyes flashing. "I'm surprised, Lucian," she said sweetly, venom in every word. "You trust this Luna of yours to lead? Or is this just for show?" Lucian's arm slid around my waist, possessive, signaling to everyone present, I belonged to him. My pulse spiked, wolf snarling beneath the surface. "She's stronger than you think," he said, voice low, deadly. "And I don't take challenges lightly, especially from wolves who don't understand their place." Serafini's lips pressed together, eyes narrowing, but she held her ground. Darius, lurking at the edge of the crowd, smirked knowingly. "Interesting," he murmured. "A Luna claimed, but can she survive scrutiny?" I bristled, instincts screaming at me to prove myself, to strike, to show strength. Lucian sensed it and leaned close, golden eyes meeting mine. "Rule 3, little wolf," he whispered. "Public, controlled. We fight together. I've got you." His possessive energy wrapped around me like armor, wolf and human instincts, vibrating in sync. I nodded, letting him guide us through the tense crowd. Every whisper, every glance, every smirk of envy was a spark to the fire burning between us. The confrontation escalated into a tested duel of influence rather than fangs. Allies whispered, observing our strength and unity. And every time Serafini attempted to assert dominance, Lucian's grip on my waist tightened subtly, a private warning, a public claim. Finally, the rival faction withdrew, murmuring threats and frustration. Serafini's eyes met mine, fury and jealousy burning in green depths. Lucian pulled me closer, pressing a possessive kiss to my temple, just enough to send a message to her. I am hers, and no rival dare challenge it. In private, away from the crowd, I exhaled shakily. That was intense. He smirked, brushing hair from my face, fingers lingering at my jaw. Yes, he said softly, golden eyes flashing, but effective. And fun, admit it. I swallowed, cheeks flushing. Fun, dangerous, he corrected, leaning closer. And necessary. Public or private. The fire between us? It can't be denied. Wolf and human alike trembled at the truth of it. The rules were fraying, the contract bending, and yet, survival, politics, and possessiveness had forged a bond neither of us could ignore. Lucian pressed his forehead against mine, voice low, intimate. Soon, little wolf, soon, we'll stop pretending, and the world will see us as we are unstoppable. Together. I shivered, wolf snarling softly, human heart racing, trapped between defiance and desire. Outside, rivals whispered, but inside, the truth was undeniable. We belonged to each other, rules be damned. The night was thick with tension, the air electric. Word had spread that Serafini had allied with a rogue faction to strike directly at our pack, testing Lucian's control and my place at his side. Stay close, Lucian whispered, his hand sliding possessively along my waist. Gold eyes scanned the dark perimeter, sharp and unyielding. They want a fight. We give them one. I swallowed, wolf buzzing with tension, body alive with anticipation and fear. Lucian, what if no? He cut me off, gaze locking on mine. No hesitation, no weakness. Not tonight. We moved as one, silent shadows among the pack, every nerve alert. The rogue faction waited near the outer gates, but the moment they spotted us, Lucian's presence ignited a storm. He shifted mid-step, sleek black fur rippling, wolf instincts radiating through him and through me. I followed, letting instinct guide me, wolf and human in perfect sync. Every attack, every dodge, every movement was a dance of survival. And yet, the tension between us was undeniable, electric, impossible to ignore. A raider lunged at me from the shadows. Lucian reacted instantly, pressing me flush against his chest, shielding me. Heat radiated from him, wolf and human intertwined, protective and possessive. Stay with me, he growled, voice low, dangerous, and intimate. No one touches you. Not now, not ever. My pulse thundered, wolf whimpering beneath my skin, human heart betraying me with its rapid beats. Lucian, I whispered, unable to deny the fire burning between us. He pressed a soft, possessive kiss to my temple, brushing lips against my hair, just enough to send a shiver through me. The fire between us is unstoppable, he murmured. Rules, contract, they mean nothing now. You're mine. The fight continued around us, but I barely noticed the raiders. Every instinct, every nerve, every heartbeat was tethered to him, bound by something deeper than duty or survival. Finally, the last threat fell. Silence returned, broken only by ragged breathing and the distant echo of wind. Lucian's golden eyes found mine, blazing, untamed. Rule 6. Broken, he murmured, pressing close, hands framing my face. Necessary. I tried to speak, words failing me, heat and desire making my voice tremble. You're mine, he said softly, yet every word carried possessive weight. Every wolf in this pack, every enemy. They'll see it soon enough. And you'll know it too. No more pretending. I shivered, wolf and human trembling at the raw intensity, the undeniable truth. Lucian, shh, he whispered, forehead pressing to mine, lips brushing my ear. Later, for now, let's just feel this. Our bond, our fire, our claim. And in the quiet aftermath of chaos, with the world still whispering threats, outside, one truth remained clear. Rules, contracts, and enemies could try to stop us, but nothing could stop the fire between us. Dawn broke over the pack territory, golden light spilling across the courtyard. The air was tense but charged with anticipation. After weeks of whispered threats, rival factions, and exes testing boundaries, today everything would end. Lucian's hand found mine, thumb brushing possessively over my knuckles. Golden eyes locked on mine, unwavering, intense. Ready? He asked softly, though his voice held the promise of danger. I swallowed, wolf buzzing beneath my skin, human heart thundering. As ready as I'll ever be. The enemy faction arrived, their numbers smaller than before, hesitation flickering across their faces when they saw us united. Lucian's arm wrapped around my waist, a subtle press of dominance that sent a thrill through me. This ends now, he growled, voice low, commanding every wolf's attention. No one challenges this pack. No one challenges my Luna. And no one touches her. The rivals faltered, murmurs of fear spreading as Lucian stepped forward, his presence radiating power and unyielding dominance. I felt a surge of pride, heat, and desire as his possessiveness enveloped me like armor. Serafini stepped forward, green eyes blazing with envy. You think your hold on her lasts? She spat, voice sharp. Lucian's hand tightened on my waist, possessive, protective, and entirely public. She's mine, he said, voice low but heard by everyone. Every wolf in this pack, every enemy understand that. She belongs to me. I felt a swell of defiance and pride. His possessiveness was intoxicating, maddening, and thrilling. My wolf snarled, ready to fight, but human heart surrendered to the truth. I was his. The rivals faltered, murmuring their surrender. Lucian's eyes never left mine as he drew me close, forehead pressing to mine. Finally, he whispered, no more games, no more pretending. I shivered, desire and relief mingling. Lucian, he pressed his lips to mine, possessive, claiming, lingering with the weight of every rule we had broken and every boundary we had tested. Wolf and human collided, slow burn tension igniting into fire, impossible to deny. When we finally broke apart, breath mingling, hearts racing, I realized the truth. Contracts, politics, rivals, jealousy, exes, they all paled in comparison to what we had built. Our fire, our bond, our claim. Unstoppable, undeniable. And ours. Lucian's hands framed my face, thumbs brushing my cheeks. Forever, he murmured. No enemy, no rival, no rule can take you from me. You are mine, always. I smiled, chest heaving, wolf purring beneath the surface, human heart overflowing. And you're mine, I whispered. The courtyard, the pack, the whispers, they all faded. All that mattered was the fire, the possessiveness, the love that had grown from enemies to lovers, forged in danger, protected by dominance, and finally claimed in both heart and soul. Lucian kissed my forehead, pressing a soft but possessive mark. Let the world watch, he said, golden eyes alight. They'll see what it means to claim someone. Truly. I nestled against him, wolf and human both surrendering to the undeniable truth. I belong to you, I murmured, and I too. You, he replied, holding me tight, possessive and protective, marking the end of rivalry, jealousy, and pretense. The contract had begun as a fake bond. Now, it was our forever unbreakable, fiery, and ours. The sun rose fully, golden and unyielding, casting light on the pack, the rivals, and the love we had claimed. And for the first time, I felt complete, whole, and undeniably his.